This is the police with a warning. Come to the front door.
Sigue caminando hacia mí. Sigue caminando hacia mí.
What would you think if armed men in black masks jumped out of SUVs and dragged your neighbor off the street? To many it looks like kidnapping. To ICE it's just another Tuesday. And honestly, it feels like both sides want it that way. 150,000 deportations since Trump took office and counting. I'm from Germany, and what I see isn't just a border policy, it's a media war. Democrats block access to the prison, so ICE takes it to the streets. Kevin Bass calls it violent abduction. Others call it daddy's cleaning house. So who is right? Let's look at one scene that makes even seasoned viewers scream. Check this out.
We just, as you mentioned, rode along with not Border Patrol, but ICE agents in Maryland, and we saw the agents arresting sex offenders, suspected gang members, the individuals that the president has promised to deport from the country. He often talks about getting rid of the worst who are in the country illegally. But we have also seen ICE arrest day laborers outside of Home Depots, in some cases farm workers, people attending their court hearings in immigration court.
It breaks your heart, these stories, these images. But let's be real, it's easy to open the borders. It's easy to hand out some money and call it the only moral path. But if Americans truly supported that, why the majority vote for Trump, despite the media, despite the moral guilt trip? Maybe not everyone who crossed the borders is a hardworking hero. Some are predators. I live in Colombia. I've seen young guys shoot others in the head, cold-blooded. There are bad boys out there, real ones. And once they're inside, it's too late for outrage. But when Democrats talk about immigration, it sounds like every human is a gift.
Well, no, let me just explain, because you have people who are literally walking down the street, sitting at bus stops, are individual vendors selling fruit on the street. These masked men pull up in unmarked cars and jump out of the cars with rifles and detain people. So for the average citizen, it looks like it's a violent kidnapping. So you should never have that. They don't identify themselves. And furthermore, to your previous guest, how on earth do they know that they're a threat when they're just chasing random people through parking lots, at Home Depots, going to car washes and rounding up people? It's difficult to get your car washed in Los Angeles now because most of the car washes, the employees won't come to work out of fear that a raid will take place.
Let's be real, if car washes are your frontline of justice, you might want to rethink your moral compass. I'm from Germany, you know that, and over here we have learned if you ignore a problem for too long, it doesn't go away, it explodes. Trump didn't invent this crisis. He just promised to clean it up. And now he's doing it. Hard, fast, loud. Law and order comes at a cost. And this is the bill.
Country. If your agents encounter anyone who is here illegally, irrespective of whether or not they have a criminal record, that person will be taken into custody.
If they're here in the United States illegally, yes, they will.
Those so-called collateral arrests.
Correct.
This is what resolve sounds like. But let's be real, there aren't enough violent criminals to justify the numbers of deportation Trump is planning. And look, I'm German, I don't live here. But watching from the outside, one thing becomes obvious. This backlash didn't come out of nowhere. It came after years of ignoring what many Americans kept asking for. Security, control, rules what actually mean something. If that had been taken serious early on, maybe a softer solution would have been possible. But every real question requires consequences. And that's where progressive kept walking away. Now, they are not offering answers, they are trying to stop the outcome. They are resisting, not leading. I keep looking for Democrats with real courage, leaders who can offer a liberal path with clarity and conviction. But instead, the loudest voices use the platform to attack the very institution doing the job. They frame ICE as rogue militias, call for resistance instead of reform. And what happens then? You hand the other side the perfect excuse to crack down even harder.
More than a dozen individuals are facing charges for that violent attack against an ICE facility in Texas. The Department of Homeland Security, as you know, has also reported a sharp increase in attacks against your agents. What do you think is behind that?
I think the sharp increase in the rhetoric, especially from a lot of elected officials that are shaming, if you will, or speaking out against the ICE law enforcement mission is what's really increasing these attacks on officers. And that, unfortunately, the Alvarado incident down in Prairie Land, that is one that's really taken it to the next level. Just the increase is amazing. The fact that, like you said, 830% increase from last year in assaults on officers.
Deportations are rising. And guess what? So are attacks on ICE agents. That's not a coincidence. See, in some states, even violent offenders sit in jail. And ICE is blocked from removing them. Think about it. A guy gets convicted, locked up, and the state refuses to hand him over. What happens next? Raids in parking lots, armed agents chasing people outside Home Depot. And who gets the blame? Not the politicians, not the system, just ICE. And let's be honest, people don't line up to get deported. They build lives, they settle in, they think the system forgot about them. But America's patience ran out. So let's not kid ourselves when ICE officials say, we are only going after the worst of the worst. That's just the line they use. But listen for yourself and decide what you believe.
Is the policy still to prioritize the arrest and deportation of people who are here illegally, but also are violent offenders?
Yes, ICE is going to focus on the worst of the worst. And that's what we do need to focus our limited resources on. That's one thing I've always said from the start. What's, again, frustrating for me is the fact that we would love to focus on these criminal aliens that are inside a jail facility, right? A local law enforcement agency, state agency already deemed that person a public safety threat and arrested them and they're in detention. I'd much rather focus all of our limited resources on that to take them into custody. But we do have to go out into the community and make those arrests. And that's where you are seeing those increase of if we encounter someone, say, that is here in the country legally, we will take them into custody.
They are not just targeting gang members anymore. Now it's fathers, teenagers, women, even kids. Why? Because tolerance has a limit. And the progressive side crossed it by refusing every single compromise. Now comes the backlash relentless. Even ICE agents wear masks now, not to hide, but to protect their families, their homes, their face, their kids' schools, all exposed online. Doxing isn't protest, it's war. And the mayor of Los Angeles, she calls it a violent abduction. Seriously, a violent abduction. Because ICE agents wear masks.
Well, the acting director says that his agents, some of them fear that their families will be retaliated against, and that's why they are covering their faces, that they do wear markings for the agencies that they work with. How do you respond?
Well, first of all, let me just tell you that the masked men are not from Los Angeles. And so how their families could be retaliated against. And then what is that to say to local law enforcement, the Los Angeles Police Department, none of whom are ever masked, who always identify themselves and even hand someone a business card. So that makes absolutely no sense at all. And I don't know, but I have a hard time believing that the woman selling pineapples on the corner is going to attack an ICE agent.
One side says a cartel sock shot a father just trying to feed his baby. The other side says, a poor woman sells pineapple on the street corner because going home would mean certain death. Two stories, two extremes. And somewhere between the headlines, there's the truth. In the end, your country runs on laws and rules. You either follow them or build the majority to change them. But what won't work, moral tantrums. That's it for today. I'm just a German guy trying to keep the balance. If you want more, including a video that goes hard on ICE abuses, click the next one. Thanks you for watching. See you soon. Ciao.